I stood alongside my fellow veterans of the 77th, the Eradicators. You knew who they called in Vilgus to wipe out all those beasts that came from deep beneath the hives, from the Gene Stealers. They called us. Me, Captain Thierry, and my boys of the 77th. Nothing remained once we left, not even ashes. We are the Indigan Praefects. When they call us, it's because the Great Devourer is coming, I thought to myself, as I surveyed the barren landscape of Adrantis 5. We had been tasked with setting up defenses against the incoming Tyranid fleet, who would stop at nothing to consume all life on this planet, including the valuable resources the Imperium sought to extract. Something is coming. I feel it on my knee, and I see it in my nightmares. With grim determination, we kept working. We have combatants, working soldiers, but me and my comrades know that if you have time to stop shooting, you have time to prepare your stand. So we worked. We worked day in and day out for weeks. We drill a batch of recruits all the way from Indiga as we share memories of the motherland. But we drill and we work. We erected barriers and fortifications, dug trench lines, and laid mines to slow what was coming. We set up a network of sensors to detect the enemy's movements. We set up bunkers with autocannons. We placed motion sensors deep in the wastes. We did atmospheric testing on an hourly basis. We deployed sniper teams on strategic locations. We set up tanks in overlapping kill vectors. But you are never ready. Never for the great beast. The great mouth that eats planets. When the Tyranids hit, they hit us hard, with wave after wave of monstrous beasts and deadly creatures. But we fought back with all our might, using our years of experience to outmaneuver and outgun the Tyranids at every turn. We used flamethrowers to incinerate hordes of smaller creatures, while our heavy weapons teams took down the larger, more dangerous beasts. The traps were working. We knew they were coming, but they kept coming and coming. Our Vox communications were jammed. We couldn't reach the flotilla that was watching our backs from orbit. Despite our best efforts, however, we knew we were fighting a losing battle. The swarm was simply too vast, and their numbers seemed endless. We hunkered down and prepared for a final, desperate stand. But just as all hope seemed lost, salvation arrived in the form of the Imperial Navy. A squadron of fighter bombers appeared overhead, raining down a hail of bombs and missiles on the Tyranid swarm. We let out a cheer as we saw the Tyranids' ranks decimated by the air support. We emerged victorious, but at a great cost. Many of our people had fallen, and the recolonization of Adrantis 5 would be delayed indefinitely. But we knew that our sacrifice had saved countless lives and preserved the precious resources of the planet. As we packed up our equipment and prepared to leave, as we were assigned to training duties back at Indiga, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. We had stood against the Tyranids and proved that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit could triumph. Welcome, friends. Today we are talking about the Indigan Praefects, the prime and most effective Tyranid hunters in the galaxy. They are an Astra Militarum regimentum that specializes in fighting enormous alien animals and all sorts of dangerous Xeno creatures, especially Tyranids. They come from the planet of Indiga, who in its origins was classified as a menagerie world. I know, right? What does that even mean? A menagerie is a collection of captive animals, typically exotic creatures, kept for display, or the building where such a collection is kept, a precursor to the contemporary zoo or zoological garden. Menageries were popular in Europe in the 17th and 18th centuries. The planetary governor, Constantine Principe Argoi, was the one who established all of these enormous zoos across the planet Indiga. He did this because he could not think of a better way to spend all the wealth that came from Indiga's status as a planet rich in key minerals that were important to the Imperium. If you guessed correctly, he even obtained Tyranids for his multiple exhibitions. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as life is sometimes, everything happened to go wrong in the worst way possible. Because first you have a planet filled with enormous zoos, all filled with the most dangerous creatures imaginable, collected by the planetary governor, on a planet also known for having heavy mining operations all over the world. One very tragic day, still to this day the cause unknown, a cataclysmic earthquake shook most of the world, ripping the ground apart, burying thousands of Indigans in their mines, causing spires and structures to tumble and fall. The lives lost that day in the hundreds of thousands. The commanders of the Planetary Defense Force tried to contact the Imperial Commander and also the planetary governor, Principa Argoi, only to find that, after breaking into his royal chambers, he was being feasted upon by a giant beast suddenly cut loose from its cage. This was the time of the rise of the Indigan Praefects. The word prefect means to be in charge. As the forces were being mustered, the grim reality of the situation started to settle. All the zoos were destroyed by the earthquake, and now the incredibly dangerous Xeno creatures are now loose. Some report some went to hide in the wilderness. Some took a liking to prey on humans. So no, the prefects were now in a desperate fight for survival. The cities were not now safe. All citizens were ordered to move for their own safety, and only zones designated as strategic remained: military strongholds and mine operation sites. Now the primary objective was to move away from the dangerous creatures now roaming the streets and the forests, then to coordinate an attack. After this initial dire situation, and on decades of living in this now man-made death world, the Indigan Prefects have now been trained to track, hunt, and kill any and all dangerous Xeno beasts, including Tyranids. And for the planet itself, as the situation of the creatures continued to get worse, and they reproduced and occupied even more territory, the people of Indiga now live in mobile settlements, as great armoured caravans of super heavy transports move constantly around the planet, giving the people a fighting chance inside this mobilised fortress. But let's not forget about humanity's entrepreneurial spirit. Let's learn about what exactly is the Indigan Xeno Safari Tourist Board. That's right, the Indigan Xeno Safari Tourist Board. A tourist company within the Imperium of nobles all around the sector who want to experience the thrill and excitement of a Xeno safari, looking up close on the most dangerous Xeno creatures humanity has ever faced. For fun. Exactly. Well, according to the latest astropathic message, not so good, since the last that was heard of the tourist board were screams, howls, and the sound of meat being chewed and bones broken. Now that the continued movement and great dangers of Indiga have made its troops, the Indigan Prefects, into the best Imperial Guard Tyranid fighters. Decades of defending their people from the megafauna beasts that roam their homeworld have made them experts at tracking them, identifying their weaknesses, and bringing them down. So now, as a new Tyranid fleet approaches, it's the job of the Indigan Prefects to be the main defenders of humanity. For their gear and weapons, they use custom specialized carapace armor, carapace helmets with visors to obtain real-time combat information and to track targets. This is also quite useful to coordinate airstrikes on nests and lairs. Heavy combat shotguns, similar to the ones used by the Adeptus Arbites, and hellguns with long combat knives, ideal for close quarter and mid-range combat, as long-range combat doesn't last that long against the swarm. That was the video of lore and history about the Indigan Prefects. I hope you have enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below about it. I'm always interested to hear your opinions. I'll see you in the next one, and, as always, remember to keep the Emperor's light burning.